Hello, welcome to the 2025 State of the City of Amsterdam address. This is the sixth time I'm doing this. Our city government should be spending all our time and every dollar of taxpayer money trying to make Amsterdam a better place to live and do business. And we should be doing this by focusing first on the basic services, top priority problems, and most promising opportunities that have the greatest impact on the quality of life in this community. We should be constantly measuring the results of the actions we take. We cannot be afraid of making mistakes, but whenever we do, we must be sure to learn from them. When we determine that something we are doing is successful and cost-effective, we should continue doing it. And when we find it is not, we should search for an alternative until we find one that works better. We should work with and partner with anyone who is suitably qualified and willing to work with us and is doing a good job on our behalf. But when there is proof they are not, we must move on to find others who can. This describes what our administration has strived to do since coming into office in 2020. The results: we now have a healthy surplus instead of a deficit. We have eradicated record levels of blight, paved record numbers of streets, invested heavily and effectively in public safety, infrastructure, and technology enhancements. We have added technical expertise to our workforce. We have at least 10 major capital projects in process and fully funded, and we are steadily transforming the neighborhoods of our city into cleaner, safer, and better looking places to live. So I am pleased to report that as of today, our beloved Amsterdam is in a much stronger position both physically and financially than we were 5 years ago, and we are getting stronger. Finances. Our city ended its 23-24 fiscal year with more than $3 million surplus. We expect to end our current fiscal year in June with a surplus closer to $5 million. We are achieving these positive financial results even though we are also spending significant sums addressing critical infrastructure and equipment needs that have been ignored for too long. We are achieving these results while also being cognizant of managing the property tax and user fee rates property owners are asked to pay. We have kept the average annual increase in taxes and fees at 2.1% since our administration took office, even though the annual inflation rate has been more than double that at 4.4% during the same period of time. And we are achieving these results while we have also paid off the bond we sold to refinance that $8 million deficit we inherited. With professional municipal accountants now managing our city's finances, we have been able to identify chronic sources of financial waste and savings because the old excuse of "this is the way we've always done it" no longer applies in our controller's office. For example, when our current controller did a thorough review of our health insurance premium expenses last year, she discovered incorrect billings and claims of over $200,000 for individuals who were not even supposed to be covered by the city's policies. This underscores why we must remain vigilant and we must exercise sensible frugality whenever possible and wherever possible. We must double down on our efforts to get the most for our taxpayers' money, mostly because every major capital project we undertake requires upfront seed money. Our borrowing needs are significant, and interest rates, though coming down, are still high enough to evolve into a serious concern if we do not manage them wisely. Ditto for the cost of health insurance benefit for the city employees and retirees, the single biggest line item in our city's budget and the most valuable benefit we offer. And above all, we must do this the right way, always taking the high road, acting with integrity, ignoring politics and special interests, not jumping to conclusions or turning molehills into mountains, and always making sure the decisions we make are based on experience, facts, accurate data, and the truth. Public safety. The residents and property owners of Amsterdam are well protected by the professionals who lead and staff our police and fire department. The APD has just undergone a change in leadership. After a stellar career, John Thomas retired as police chief, and we replaced him with Joe Spencer. Chief Spencer is extremely well qualified to manage the ever-changing demands of law enforcement in today's times, and he will be ably assisted by the APD's new Deputy Chief of Police, Sal Megna, a universally respected 23-year veteran city cop. Preventing crime in any municipality and apprehending those who commit it is a laborious, complicated, and highly stressful process. Amsterdam's relatively low crime rate, the efficiency of our crime investigations, and the follow-up actions we take to prevent the reoccurrence of criminal acts are not products of luck. The APD works very hard at what they do, and our administration tries to make sure they have the support and resources they need to continue to do it as well as they do. For example, when the 2 shooting incidents took place in Veterans Park 2 summers ago, APD made that venue a substation, which meant a patrol car was stationed there instead of the public safety building. This increased police presence during the park's busy season and helped keep things under much better control this summer. With the help of a grant from Assemblyman Santa Barbara's office, both Veterans and Shuttleworth Park are now fully covered by smart surveillance cameras. We've modified parking areas, installed barriers, and will be implementing additional safety and security measures as warranted. 10 of our city's most heavily driven streets are in the process of being equipped with solar-powered speed monitoring devices. A committee has been formed to establish a formal video surveillance strategy for our city, and also a plan to implement and seek funding for that strategy in a phased approach. New software will help APD more effectively enforce parking tickets by providing the data connection necessary to prevent those who do not pay the fines from renewing their vehicle's registration. We have acquired new license plate reading technology and also invested in more drone technology. But all the technology in the world won't make this community safer if the men and women who use it to do their jobs are not qualified, trained, and motivated to do so. Being a cop is one of the toughest, most stressful professions young men and women can choose. Amsterdam is fortunate to have as many such individuals in our police department as we do. But one of our department's top priorities is recruiting more. And I'm happy to report today that 6 impressive new APD recruits are entering the police academy, 2 of whom are bilingual. The Amsterdam Fire Department is certainly one of our city's most valued assets. In addition to providing citywide protection, the men and women of the AFD serve as the primary providers of our city's ambulance and emergency response services as well. During the last calendar year, the Amsterdam Fire Department call volume almost reached the 5,000 mark and generated in excess of $1.2 million of revenue from the insurance claims for ambulance services, which helps subsidize the growing costs of this city's public safety requirements. We have just extended AFD Chief Anthony Agresta's contract. In addition to overseeing the operation of the AFD, Chief Agresta also manages our city codes department and the men and women who staff that. I lean heavily on his leadership, intelligence, and problem-solving skills in several areas of our city's operation, and to have him continue on as chief is a great thing for our city. No department has undergone a greater transformation in its staffing composition than the AFD. Most of the old-timers, they were all younger than I was, who were still serving when I became mayor, have since retired, and the department has become a much younger staffed one. Their most critical challenge is being able to deal with the stress and pressure of being ready not to just fight fires, but also tend to the initial treatment and subsequent transport of the entire spectrum of ambulance calls they face daily. These can range from grave life and death situations to distressed individuals experiencing mental health crises, to people who chronically abuse the emergency response service for frivolous reasons. AFD can't afford to be wrong. There's a lot of pressure and it contributes significantly to the turnover of personnel. Addressing this recruitment and retention challenge will be a top priority of our administration in the upcoming months, and I'm thrilled to tell you today that 4 new AFD recruits will be entering the Fire Academy this spring. Community and economic development, housing. We currently have several developers actively pursuing multi-unit housing projects within our city. We have 2 developers working on 2 separate projects to develop over 20 single-family homes and duplexes in 4 different Amsterdam neighborhoods, which would sell to first-time homeowners for prices that would not exceed $200,000. We continue to work on the opportunity to develop a large parcel of school district-owned land behind Curie Eastside School into a residential neighborhood of single-family homes. Our city is waiting to receive its pro-housing community designation from the state, which will make us eligible for more housing development assistance funding. But one of the hallmarks of our administration, and an achievement I am most proud of, is our coordinated ongoing effort to get abandoned city-owned homes into the hands of folks with the skills and resources necessary to rebuild them, get them back up to code, occupied with tenants, and return to the tax rolls. The property disposition process we instituted when I took office has now done this successfully 70 times. Those 70 homes now generate over $200,000 in local property taxes and user fees every year and have right around 150 clean, safe, updated apartments, have added 150 clean, safe, and updated apartments to an Amsterdam housing market that was badly in need of them. Consider this. A subsidized 150-unit apartment project of this size would take at least 3 to 4 years to get to the occupancy stage, cost well over $30 million to build, generate reduced, if any, property taxes, and be located all on one piece of land in a single neighborhood. Our property disposition effort brings instant results, and the involved properties are located throughout our city, improving the appearance and property values in every neighborhood. And through due diligence and creative thinking, our Property Disposition Committee continues to improve the efficiency of this process. For example, the way it was always done was that most of these abandoned and distressed homes used to be sold in a blind auction to individuals and LLCs no one knew, who were too often looking for resale exploitation and not long-term investment. They'd be purchased with a low bid, put on the market at a much higher price, and just sit there becoming even more dilapidated. The new owners wouldn't even pay property taxes in many instances, letting them once again fall into foreclosure, and if they couldn't find a sucker to buy them at an inflated price. Even worse, there were several instances in which a buyer would also rape the properties of copper, woodwork, and anything of value. Now, when we sell a property through the disposition process, the size of the bid is only one criterion we consider. Every bidder must submit a plan, timeline, and budget for rehabbing the structure. They must give examples of similar projects they've completed. The city's disposition committee checks into any unpaid taxes and codes violations that may exist. And we've added a bonding requirement that requires the buyer to get a $50,000 bond payable to the city if the rehab is not completed in the specified amount of time. The city would then use the proceeds from the bond to demolish the property. And speaking of demolition, no administration has demolished more eyesores in more neighborhoods than our administration has. More than 50 have come down since we came into office, including major projects such as the Five Corners Strip Mall, the East Main Street Diners, and the dangerous collapsing old factories on both West Main and Park Streets. And I am super excited to announce today that our city has just been notified that we are the recipients of a $1 million state CDBG grant that will be used to demolish the 20 worst remaining city-owned structures currently still standing in our city. The difference this will make to the neighborhoods impacted and to our city as a whole will be immediate and dramatic. And I need to thank grant writer extraordinaire Nick Zabowski for submitting the home run application that bought this baby home. And I also need to thank my stellar assistant Michelle Jackson, Fire Chief Agresta, Code Inspector Grant Eagleston, and City Engineer Mike Clark for selecting the target properties and compiling the data Nick needed to put together this successful application. I'm proud to say that no administration in our city's history has eliminated more blight from Amsterdam's landscape than ours. We have successfully not only stopped the spread of structural blight in Amsterdam's neighborhoods, we are reversing it. And we will continue to be vigilant in our efforts to make sure the success of our efforts continue. Code enforcement. The men and women who staff our code enforcement department are some of Amsterdam's best weapons in the battle to maintain and improve the quality of life in this community. Not only are they responsible for making sure the structures of this city are safe to inhabit, they also serve as our first line of defense against neighborhood degradation and blight. Their expertise and familiarity with city codes, the properties they inspect, the property owners, and the contractors that do the work in our city are a huge reason why the property disposition program has been so successful. Recently, a new codes position was added, which will focus squarely on enforcing the quality of life issues that make neighbors of violators miserable. Litter and untended trash, excess noise, vegetation, unshoveled snow blocking sidewalks. The long-term goal is to transition our codes philosophy from reacting to violations to preventing them from occurring in the first place. New business and jobs. Our city's community and economic development staff is a two-person operation, currently working on administering 5 remaining DRI projects, a micro-enterprise grant, a Restore New York grant, the development of a new comprehensive plan, and the multimodal transportation center project. while also pursuing some of the housing development opportunities previously mentioned. Even though we brought in a consultant to help manage this load, our C&D staff does not currently have the time or expertise necessary to handle a well-planned effort to attract jobs to our city. This is an area I believe we can do better. To be blunt, I believe we need a greater level of assistance and cooperation with this effort from both the Amsterdam Industrial Development Agency and Montgomery County's Industrial Development Agency. The challenge is that there does not currently seem to be enough political willingness, agreement, or coordination among our three agencies to effectively synergize. I requested a meeting late last summer with representatives from both agencies to talk about the need to do so. Specifically, we discussed the city's lack of an inventory with background information for city businesses and available business properties. We discussed how there needed to be a consistent effort to match, apply for, and administer programs and funding assistance with existing new and expanding business opportunities. And we talked about our city's need to more effectively market the properties and resources we have. This did not result in the level of concerted action I hoped it would. My goal this year will be to get our three agencies more in that groove of working together. As for what is happening development-wise in our city this coming year, the boardwalk along the Chalmers Parcel waterfront is finally breaking ground this spring and will be completed this year. Ditto for the Muni Clubhouse. Just this afternoon, we received the bids necessary to bring the price of the clubhouse down an additional $200,000, and we were happy to see that happen. Construction of that will begin in February and be done in August. You will see beautiful public art projects take shape in downtown and the south side. The Esperanza Verde Park and water pad will debut on East Main Street. The Complete Streets project, which will beautify Main Street on both sides of the mall and make it more pedestrian and vehicle friendly, will begin. The old Johnny's Seafood building is scheduled to be demolished to make way for the new community center to be run by the Boys and Girls Club. The library's DRI expansion project will progress. An event venue is scheduled to debut in the ground floor space of the 7-story Cranesville LLC apartment building, which has a waiting list of tenants looking to rent its new market rate apartments. We're expecting the current trend of new small independent businesses opening up in some of the vacant storefronts in downtown to continue, and we continue to be optimistic that the Boogie Lab project on Forest Avenue will break ground, and yes, there will be a new Arby's on Market Street. The owner just had twins, by the way, and sent me pictures of 2 beautiful boys, but they are coming, and they will be open no later than this summer. Public service and infrastructure. The effort continues to make up for lost time when it comes to addressing the infrastructure and equipment needs of our public works, water filtration, and wastewater operations. During the past 3 years, we have purchased a new street sweeper, 2 new garbage trucks, a new backhoe, and 2 new snow plowing trucks for our public works department. We have finally GPS mapped and cleared an access and maintenance path along the 15-mile length of the 130-year-old pipe that provides all the drinking water for our city and large parts of the surrounding towns. We have continued the effort to rid our drinking water of the trace levels of lead it contains. We completed a chemical conversion of the water filtration process used to treat our water, which was designed to reduce its corrosivity reaction level with any lead it encounters in the ancient supply lines of the city's homes that use it. We joined EPA's Get the Lead Out program, which has helped us pinpoint the homes and areas of our city most likely to have lead lines, helped educate the owners of those homes on simple measures they can take to make sure their lines are flush any lead contaminated water from their lines before using it. And we have just been awarded a $1.5 million grant, which will be used to replace lead lines in 150 more of our city homes that are known to have them. And in what will be this city's single biggest infrastructure investment project in over a generation, engineers are completing the plans to rebuild our city's wastewater treatment plant, which represents a $25 to $30 million investment. The ARPA aid and the bipartisan infrastructure bills passed by the previous Congress and signed by President Biden were instrumental in our city's effort to continue to make essential investments in city operations while also working ourselves out of debt. Make no mistake about it, old Northeast cities like Amsterdam depend heavily on the assistance of federal and state governments to help us address the problems and challenges that come with being old industrial cities. We can't survive without it. Parks and Recreation. After several years of absence, the Amsterdam Recreation Commission was reestablished to provide input and oversight of our city's tourism, marketing, and recreation department activities, finances, and planning. With the opening of the new Chuck Trail Park behind the Amsterdam Free Library, city residents now have another new place to relax, alongside one of the most scenic and peaceful stretches of the historic Chuckanunda Creek. Our city will be sponsoring Friday night entertainment there throughout the summer. This spring, yet another Amsterdam park will open with the ribbon cutting for the new Esperanza Verde Park on the corner of East Main and Eagle Streets. This new gathering place will include a splash pad and playground for the kids, a performance shell, and a picnic and table area, game area for everyone else. Enhancing safety and security in our public spaces was also a priority. As we mentioned earlier, smart security cameras were added at both Veterans and Shuttleworth Park, providing our police department with complete remote surveillance coverage of both venues. A new black iron fence was erected along the Division Street side of the Searcher Park, which will help prevent children from running into the street to chase balls they happen to be playing with. Last year, we completed the installation of new playground equipment in every city park that was in need of it. The disc golf course set up by volunteers, Mr. Hudson, for example, in the Sassafras, with financial assistance provided by Montgomery County, began catching on with area enthusiasts of that sport this past year. Our city's annual series of recreation and events were once again heavily attended, and they are some of the most popular of things that we do as a city, very much enjoyed by both residents and visitors to our city alike. They bring people to our city to have a good time, and when they're here, they learn about our city. Changes and improvements are planned with this year's slate, which begins tomorrow with the ever-popular Soup Fest. I hope to see you out there. The municipal golf course. It took us a year to complete the plans for a new clubhouse at our city-run golf course. My goal was to build it in stages, creating a huge covered, mostly outdoor space in the first phase to be operable for 3 seasons, with all the amenities, dining room, full kitchen, bathrooms, to be added in a phase 2. Once a concessionaire experienced the market attraction of an outdoor dining and bar venue overlooking the most beautiful site in our city has to offer. The Golf Commission and Golf Common Council nixed that idea in favor of a full 4-season venue with as much kitchen capacity as affordable. My personal budget goal beginning the project was $1.6 million for the phase 1 construction cost. We had secured $550,000 in grants from Senator Breslin and Assemblyman Santa Barbara, and we had committed an additional $100,000 in ARPA funding. This meant we would need to borrow approximately $1 million via a bond offering to finance the build. Our architect's first attempt to expand the project per the wishes of the Commission and the Council resulted in an estimated price tag of $2.5 million. I would not in good conscience approve that or bring it forward. We scaled back the features and have the number down to just over $2 million. Construction is scheduled to begin in February of this year with a completion date of August 1. The change in fee structures for golfers at the course did work as planned. There was significant concern by some that the elimination of flat fee memberships to the greens fee model would result in a reduction of revenues in the first year it was instituted. Instead, revenues rose approximately 4% from calendar year 2023 to 2024. They now are at $624,000 per year. People. Smart, hardworking people are our city's biggest asset. This is why during my 5 years in office, we have strived to bring more expertise to our workforce. We've enhanced our financial management expertise, our engineering capability, our employee benefits oversight, and in February, we will welcome the first Director of Information Technology to Amsterdam City Government. We've been consistently adding new technology tools into the operation of every city department, and we need to add more, but we need to do so in a smart, affordable way, and we need to make sure those tools are properly maintained and our employees can and do use them effectively. This will be the mission of our new IT Director. I need to thank the Common Council for their support of the initiatives and achievements described in this speech. Without it, progress would be impossible. I need to thank the heads of each city department for your knowledge of and expertise in the services your departments deliver to this city, and also for your willingness to constantly strive to do them better. It has become much less of an occurrence during the 5 years I've been in office to hear a department head say, "That's the way we've always done it." Now it's all about doing it better. And I could not be prouder of the men and women who are in the front lines of public service in this city. It is very easy to take for granted that when you turn on your faucet, water comes out. When you flush your toilet, it disappears. When you put your garbage out the next night, Then at night, the next morning it's gone. It snows, the street's covered, the next morning it's plowed. If your safety is threatened, you call the police or fire department, and within a few minutes they arrive in front of your house. But none of this would happen without a core group of dedicated and skilled public servants who take pride in what they do and work incredibly hard to do it well. They have very, very difficult jobs, very, very technically oriented jobs, and they work so hard at getting them done, and I thank them from the bottom of my heart. And I need to recognize and thank the volunteers who serve on our city's Zoning Board of Appeals, our Planning Commission, our Golf Commission, the Civil Service Commission, ADA, the Board of Assessment Review, and our newly reconstituted Recreation Commission. These people receive no salary or stipend, yet they fulfill critical roles in our municipality's governance and development. They accept these responsibilities because they recognize that citizen participation in public service is essential to making Amsterdam a better and stronger place to live. Thank you, Assemblyman Angelo Santa Barbara, and now retired State Senator Neil Breslin, for your steadfast state-level advocacy of the issues and projects that we have generated millions of dollars of critical aid for our city. We are also thrilled that Congressman Tonko will once again be our partner in Washington, and that Senator Fahey will now do battle for us in Albany. We expect them both to be very effective. A huge thank you to my indispensable assistant and right arm, Michelle Jackson. Thank you, Corporation Counsel Anthony Casali, for helping me always at least try to do the right thing. And thank you, Kim Brumley, for listening to me rant and then calming me down. And finally, thank you to the people of Amsterdam for being who you are and for supporting, for the most part at least, what we are trying to accomplish for this city. My promise to you remains the same. I will spend every remaining day I have as your mayor doing exactly what I've done for the last 5 years, and that is working as hard as I possibly can to accomplish the things that improve the quality of life for you and your families. My love for this beloved hometown of ours will never fade. May God bless you all, and may God bless Amsterdam, New York. Thank you very much.